So the Worldwide Developer Conference just happened, and there were some awesome updates that I saw for the Apple Watch in the fitness and health realm that I want to talk about. Like, I think they're taking great strides. Now, if you've watched anything on my channel, my biggest gripe and the reason I wear a Garmin instead of an Apple Watch is this damn battery life. It's just not great for a 24/7 tracker because you constantly have to put it on a charger, or just for prolonged endurance. Like, I'm training about 10 hours a week with endurance, and I just putting it on, taking it off constantly is just kind of a headache. But I notice what it seems to be is that Apple's just going to be okay with it. There's so much functionality packed into this little device where the battery can only be so large. And if they're not going to figure out some way to do on the wrist charging, they're just going to lean into this idea that, all right, we're just going to leverage and use more hardware in the device to give you more metrics. So one of them, cycling. This is pretty niche for cyclists, triathletes, but this is really, really cool because cycling is very expensive when you're trying to monitor your metrics. For example, I have a Garmin computer on my bike and I've got power meters on my bike as my pedals. And one of the things I have to do when I'm doing a triathlon, when I'm doing sort of training, is monitor a percentage or a goal of my functional threshold pace, which is my FTP. And Apple, for no reason that I can understand, has added that to the Apple Watch. Like, I don't know if there's enough people that really care or have the ability to measure those metrics, but it's really cool. And then they also have this mirror display between your watch and your phone where you can now use your phone on your bike and not have to constantly pick up your wrist and look at it, because that's can be kind of dangerous, instead of looking at the road, looking down at your computer and then back up. So I thought that was incredibly cool. And then it'll also give you these customized zones. And I personally love that. The other thing I love is this third-party ability to take things like Training Peaks, for example. If you are someone who does any sort of endurance training, I'm sure you have been on the platform Training Peaks, and they use that as a prime example of how these third parties can leverage all of the existing hardware better in the native Apple app. And I think that's incredibly interesting because as of right now, I have Training Peaks hooked up to my Garmin, and then it uses whatever workout you build in the Training Peaks app and connects it to Garmin, and there's some interpretation there. What I will be fascinated to see is with this new integration into the workout native app of Apple, and when it just comes up, is what else could they do? What other additional metrics may be of use, or interesting ways that software developers can build on the native side of, for example, Training Peaks, that is going to be much better than using this integrated API kind of thing where Training Peaks has to export to whatever different platform you're using, like Garmin Connect, for example. So I'm looking forward to seeing, how that's going to change, and something I'm going to have to monitor. Now, hiking, this waypoint thing is incredibly fascinating. If you've ever got lost in the woods, not literally lost, but actually just getting lost, there's a peace of mind that you can have where it sets waypoints, shows you where there's emergency exits, and a whole bunch of awesome things, and using the topographic maps on the Apple Watch to help navigate your route. Incredibly fascinating. Again, I think if you were going on an extended hike, you wouldn't use a normal Apple Watch. You would have to get something like an Apple Watch Ultra that does have a little bit of additional battery life, just because, well, it's not going to really help you if your watch dies. And then also vision health. I spent a lot of money to fix my eyes, and I'm very particular about vision health. And it has a lot of examples of, like, kids need this much time outside in the daylight, which if you can get kids outside, that's big fan. And then also using the hardware in the phone to tell you whether or not you're looking at your phone too close or too long. I'd be really interested to see if it actually tells you to put your phone down more instead of just constantly using it. Maybe because Apple doesn't really care if you're going to be using Instagram or any of these other third-party apps longer. So perhaps there's actually some underlying goodwill in your vision health that they want you to focus on rather than make more money. That's kind of wishful thinking. And that's it. Of all the gripes I have with the Apple Watch, one thing that's great is, well, first of all, the user interface, the functionality of just everything that you can do on it. It's just that battery life. Like, I love these updates, but Of course, this is a developer conference. They're not a hardware one, which is going to be later in the year. And I'll be interested to see if there's going to be a new iteration of the Apple Watch Ultra that has some sort of additional battery life. And you know, Apple does have patents on the ability to extend battery life on the watch, but we haven't seen it. So hope you enjoyed this one and the conference and, you know, Apple's being Apple.